As I mentioned after the game, was extremely proud of the way the guys responded, and to go get a victory like that was a lot of fun. We knew there's big challenges ahead, and we need to turn the page fast, but was very happy after watching the tape, just seeing how many guys really played their best football of the season. Hopefully we can build off that and gain a lot of confidence of what happened in Evanston, and just happy of the group and the coaches, the plan we were able to give them, and kind of the confidence that showed on the field.
Jim, one of the guys who obviously had an impact was Kamali. And I remember when he first came here and we talked to him, he talked about being physical, supporting the run, things like that. He didn't talk too much about his ability to cover or help out. Has he given you more in that area than you thought, or is that something you guys see in practice?
I think you guys must not have watched his tape. But yeah, he's a fluid mover. I mean, he's very explosive and can run. So we thought, he was going to be able to do some very good things in coverage on top of the physicality that he loves to play with. He's getting more and more comfortable within this defense every week, and he's coming off his best games back to back. So excited about where he's at. He still has to continue to grow and learn to communicate certain things within this defense, but he's gaining more confidence every week. And you're starting to see that play speed come out in the run and the pass game.
Jim, you mentioned last week needing to play good football and clean football. Was there anything that you were able to do practice-wise, or maybe tweaking some different things during the week to help them do that? Because no turnovers, less penalties last week.
We shortened some things up. I think it's that time of the year a little bit where the physicality needs to scale back to some degree. You still have to remain that football team, but I think the number one goal at this point is to be fresh on game day. So we're going to continue to tweak things. Not saying we were doing it wrong, but I felt like it was the right time. And this is kind of that midpoint of the season kind of stretch, and we're light numbers at certain positions. So it's constantly going to be in flux a little bit about what the correct physicality and length of practice is going to be going forward. I think that was a big emphasis, and then just getting guys to understand you have to execute. And I think we had guys trying to do a little bit too much early. They're trying to rely on outworking somebody too early in the down. You have to be technically sound. You have to be on your landmarks, offense, defensive line, before that second piece kicks in to just outwork people. And then obviously on the edges, you got to create separation as receivers, right? And a lot of that happens early in the down, right? As a DB, you have to take great angles and use your hands early in the down. We weren't doing a great job of any of those things, the previous couple weeks. So it's kind of more than anything getting back to the basics. And the challenge was how efficient can you be, right? How well can you execute for 60 minutes? And they rose up to the occasion, and I think that helped clean up a lot of things.
Mark.
Jim, going back to the secondary, Ricardo Hallman's been a guy, he started every game, and seemingly pretty solid as a freshman. I guess I just want to ask you, what stands out to you about him? Why do you think he's maybe been able to come in as a redshirt freshman and really be one of your consistent guys, in the secondary?
Two things stick out to me with Rico. One, confidence, which you need at that position, and two is maturity. He knows who he is, right? He understands his skill set, what he's really good at, what he needs to continue to work on, right? What are his strengths, and how can he adjust those things week to week to win matchups? I think those are the two things that stand out to me with Rico, and he's been very consistent for us, continues to grow with every game, just the experience he's learning. He is a young guy, but he hasn't made too many moments too big. And that's exciting to watch. I think he'll continue to grow this year.
Jesse.
Jim, how do you balance trying to prepare this team every week for a game while also knowing that if you do a good enough job in 6 or so weeks, you might have an opportunity to earn the role full time? As a follow-up to that, do you have a clear understanding of what the criteria are and what you're being kind of judged? Is it strictly wins and losses?
I think number one, it's still early enough in my head that it's still kind of the day-to-day, right? There's enough things that I am learning. What am I responsible for? Who do I need to communicate? What's happening when? That I can still kind of focus on the day-to-day, and eventually the big picture will we'll get there. Obviously, having gone through one week now, able to have different conversations that I didn't feel necessary last week, and will continue to grow within what's being asked really over the next 6 weeks, right? And not really concerned with the big picture. Obviously, if we play good football and we win games, I'll have a bigger opportunity to be in this role moving forward. So that's my focus right now. It's still very much the day-to-day and week-to-week. The big picture will come. And I mentioned last week that I had a lot of ideas on things we could do maybe differently or input on. Just going to continue to have those conversations with the people that I think need to hear them, and we can make those decisions as things move forward.
Steve? Just checking with Trez Malusi, I guess he's declared out for this weekend. Any indication on how much time he might miss?
Ches injured his wrist in the game. Will definitely be out this week. Probably more bi-week evaluation of seeing how long-term the injury is going to be, but he's definitely going to be out this week.
Jim, you talk about changes, making changes, obviously you can't just make household changes in a day, right? But like something like this, you're talking an hour earlier than Paul would have. And are there other little things that you've done just to kind of tweak because you may like it a different way than someone else did?
Yeah, to me, the number one schedule, right? Making sure practice is as clean and as efficient as we need it to be, and the guys are getting what they need at this point to give us the best chance to win on Saturday, right? So little day-to-day things that way. We changed our Monday schedule to afternoon walkthrough rather than morning, which I think is huge for coaches, really having an extra 10, 12 hours to detail this thing up. I know our players felt a huge difference, I think, with our confidence, right, in how we presented the plan. Felt like we wasted less reps on a Monday as you were close to having the answers, but maybe not all the way there. So just some little things scheduling-wise right now, and practice, I think they felt a difference, and hopefully they see that we have confidence in it. So I think our players are very adaptable, right? They're going to feel that. Last week the emotions were high. We needed to do everything we could to kind of get in front of the players, right? Try to clear out the emotions to be able to focus, and that it's still fresh, it's still new. It's only a couple more days out, so I'm not going to act like that has disappeared. Obviously, a win helps, but going to let guys process that as well, and we did a good job separating that when we needed to and focusing, and that will continue to be the message to our guys.
Jim, you mentioned being thin at certain spots. The safety took a couple hits this year. I'm just curious, I know guessing about injuries is difficult, but Hunter Roller, I know he's no crutches, no boot anymore. Has he done any work in practice? Do you have any rough idea on when he may be able to return and give you something this year?
Yeah, he has not been able to practice yet to this point. Getting closer, doing significantly more in his rehab. It's probably a situation where it's going to be close to the bye week, whether it's before or after. Want to do right by him. When he's available, obviously he'll be a contributor for us. He was having a great season before the injury, so we're excited to get him back. It's just not quite that time yet.
Just a quick follow-up. Do you have to work someone like that back in gradually? You can't just throw him in, or how do you handle that? Do you know?
I would not be concerned mentally where he's at. Very focused, still doing everything as if he's playing the game. It's more, you'd work him back gradually based off of conditioning, right? Where he's able to be at, how many plays, how many reps within a game do you actually feel like he can execute at a high level? That'd be my only concern, not the mental side of it.
Okay. Jim, on top of coaching change and being a student athlete, stuff.
Is that your kids? What's going on?
Like just being a student athlete, and then of course the coaching change. Someone like Jake Chaney, his hometown, Kid Coral, hit pretty hard. Hit hard by Hurricane Ian. Just how do you, as a coaching staff and just the support staff, all work with him, or even someone like Ches, who's from Naples, to check in on how they're doing and try to support them during this time as well?
Yeah, I think number one is just reaching out to the kids. Is your family okay? Reaching out to the parents. Are you safe? Are you okay? Do you need any resources? Can we help? Right? What can we do, first of all, as a university to support and what do you need, right? And those guys, it was awesome to hear. The families were safe. They were in good positions. So puts them at ease, right? But that's real. That's scary stuff. And they handled it well. And I thought we did a good job of communicating with them just to make sure their families were in good position and not in harm's way.
Cool. This is kind of like a two-part recruiting question, but as numbers in the transfer portal continue to grow, you mentioned in the spring you want this program to be, recruit and develop, but does it change your approach at all when you just see more and more talent out there? And then second part of that, when you do get transfers in, is the challenge any different getting those guys to buy into culture and other parts of the team than it is maybe with a high school recruit?
Well, I would say the first part of that question is the transfer portal is only growing, right? It is going to continue to be a part of the recruiting process and roster building in college football. You need talent, you need experience, but you need to find that balance of how are you going to recruit your players and develop them and give them time, right? And not constantly try to jump over younger players in that process. So a lot of conversations on what's the right thing to do, right? We have to trust our ability to develop our players, and that if you get the right ones in there, they're going to put in the work and grow. You look at it like a Ricardo Hallman, right? He could have taken that situation a number of different ways, and how he responded because of who he is and the trust he has in us as coaches comes out and starts every game so far this year, even with bringing in a lot of veterans at the position. So I think there'll be examples where it works very well, and there's going to be examples that maybe you go back and think that maybe you needed to handle it a different way. So just like recruiting out of high school, it's not going to be perfect, right? There's going to be misses. It's our job as coaches to really to do the research and find out who the kids are, right? What's their commitment level, right? Do they see this as just a step before they get another opportunity, or is it truly, they want to buy into the team, buy into the culture, the leadership that you're going to ask? Because experience is great if it's passed on, right? But if they're going to come in here and just, I'm going to put my time in order to give myself one more chance at an opportunity or 2 more years to move on to the next thing, that's not going to be great culture, and has the ability to separate a locker room. So I think it puts more on the coaches to identify, just like out of high school, the kids that truly are about everything your culture fits. And obviously there is a talent component, and you're going to need to create depth at positions where you need it, which unfortunately is every single one right now.
Bro, I'm sure the circumstances weren't maybe what you would have wanted to get to this position, but just curious if you've ever had a moment to kind of take it in and take in the position you're in right now, maybe the program.
Yeah, there's been moments. Mentioned after the game, I have a lot of confidence because of who I'm around, right? Whether that's my support system of my family, the players, the coaches, the faculty here, the strength and conditioning, training room, like you name it. Like I gain a lot of confidence just when I look around. I think I have a group behind me that is willing to kind of follow through with what changes happen, right? That gets me excited. And had enough time after the game to take it in. Had so many people reach out. I apologize if I haven't reached back. So many people have reached out to me in the last 48 hours. It's kind of been humbling that way, but at the same time, you're in the middle of the season and you have to move on quickly. So the excitement is still there. I'm glad we got off on the right foot, but we got to do it again.
Jim, having gone through this for the last week or so, is there anything that surprised you, whether it's media requests from Ryan, requests from Chris, or talking to alumni? And the second part of the question is, how much different is your day-to-day today as it was a couple of weeks ago?
Not necessarily surprised. I guess fortunate to have plenty of experience in some big media markets, right, to where usually you get a lot of requests when things are really good or really bad. When things are status quo, it's pretty comfortable. So, but fortunate to have been through some unique situations from a media standpoint. The day-to-day to me is just less downtime, right? I have to communicate more with Coach Ingram in the offensive side of the ball, special teams, operations, right, with scheduling, just a lot more check-ins, more so than meetings at this point, but a lot more decisions that have to be made, mostly minor, right, mostly just signing off. The machine of college football and a program, once the wheels get set in motion, a lot of it is just making sure, are you okay with this, or does it need to change? Things have been mapped out for the season, right? Do we need to make certain adjustments, or are we comfortable with the decisions that have been made? So in a way, a lot of the decision making is kind of underway, and I just have to sign off on it, which make things a little bit more comfortable. But yeah, I think there's just less downtime, right? I'm always having to run to something, talk to somebody, catch up on a meeting, right? Get ahead of a meeting, stuff like that. And that's kind of what game day felt like to me too, right? There's less time to watch. There's less time to critique the other side of the ball, maybe on the headset, rather than communicating and just being focused on the team, which is fun, right? I mean, that's an exciting part of it, just to feel like you have to be engaged for a long period of time. That's a pretty good challenge to take that 4-hour stretch or whatever it ends up being and try to just be as engaged as possible. It's what we ask our kids to do. And as a coach, sometimes you know how to turn it on, turn it off based off of what you have to do, and just felt like I had to be a little bit more engaged and available and willing to communicate throughout the day.
Got time for a couple more, Jake?
Jim, with the news of Deacon last night, in terms of the quarterback room, I guess maybe an injury update too, with a request. How is Chase Wolf progressing through his injury, but also how does the program feel about Miles Burkett now and the rest of that quarterback room behind Graham?
First off, starting with Chase, injury is progressing, right? His rehab is progressing. He's not back to where he's ready to be on the field yet, but he's moving in the right direction there. Miles, next. Impressed with his maturity. He's a young kid, obviously, but handles his business every day, continues to get better, continues to put in the work. So pleased with how he's progressing very early on in his career and excited for what the future may hold for him. As far as Deacon, I have a ton of respect for Deacon, and this is the little bit the new normal, right? Kids have to weigh what they think their future is, where they stand. What has the communication been with the staff, right? I mean, you get one opportunity to play college football, and you like guys to continue to push and trust the process and trust the decision they made to come here, but sometimes it gets to a point where they feel like they have to move on. So we'll do everything we can to support Deacon. I think he's got a ton of talent. I think he's going to be a great quarterback at this level. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like it's going to happen here.
Time for one more, Zach.
Jim, what have you seen from Michigan State's running game, specifically Leonhard? It felt like they got off to a pretty good start, but it's been tough sledding late.
Yeah, I think early you saw the O-line kind of cohesion with that group, how they were playing, and the backs, really being aggressive. They've struggled recently up front. I think had some different combinations as far as the groups goes, and just hasn't been as clean as early in the season. And I think the running backs have dropped off as far as the production more because of that. Physical, right? They're no nonsense guys. They stretch and they cut, they get vertical, and they put pressure on the defense. So we have to be clean. It's a good test for our defense up front, and one I'm excited. We played well in the run game last week. Not a huge challenge, obviously, when you jump up. Northwestern kind of had to get out of their structure a little bit earlier than they would have liked. But I think it's a great test for this defense because the backs are talented. They're consistent in how they run the football and kind of home run ability with that whole group.